Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Andertons TV. Today, my very special guest is the acoustic guitar luthier and thoroughly nice chap, Alistair Atkin. So tell us a bit about, how you got into the guitar making business. Give us a bit of history behind it.
Okay, so I'm, 14 and I'm big into music. I want to be a rock star. And gradually it dawns on you that being a rock star back in 1988 is quite a difficult thing to do. And I made a guitar in CDT.
Oh, wow.
At school. And I thought, this is good. And so...
An acoustic or an electric?
No, an electric.
Electric,
it was a strange thing.
Okay.
I don't still have it. I thought I'd get rid of the evidence. But I enjoyed the process. And I went then to the London School of Furniture and was there for a couple of years. And you build classical guitars there, sort of full-time.
Wow.
And again, loved the process. What else are you going to do? So I went back to Canterbury, and my mum helped me sort of get started with a few bits and pieces, and I went to work with a guy called Andy Crockett, had a bench in his workshop, and just started making steel string acoustic guitars. And I'm a huge fan of like Neil Young and Crosby, Stills and Nash, and so I'm listening to that sort of music. It's all about the songs, and that's what got me started, and it's a love affair after that. Yeah. And you wake up every day, weirdly, you just wake up, or in the middle of the night, I think I can do this, I can do that. And gradually over the years, people start hearing your guitars. You get a couple of, musicians using them, and the name goes out. The guitars go and do the work for you. They're out there every night being used.
These are your best salespeople.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's what it's about, isn't it? And guitar players just love talking about guitars, which is that's why you're here.
Yeah. Well, you've clearly got a sort of a love affair with vintage things.
Yeah.
I mean, not exclusively, but by and large, your range is taking inspiration from guitars from a bygone era.
Yeah.
What was it that seeded that kind of love affair?
Again, it's the music. Listening to those players, and you'd see these sort of guitars come up time and time again, and there's nothing quite like seeing a performance on one of these original instruments, and there's something so cool about it to my mind.
Yeah.
And just the history of it all is fantastic. And it just kept on coming back to me. I'd try other sort of shapes and other models, and we did well with them. But something very interesting happened. The Buddy Holly Foundation got in touch with us about 10 years ago and ordered some J45s, this model. And
J43?
Yeah, that's the shape. So we call it the 43 because it's modelled after Buddy Holly's original guitar.
Right.
And then... yeah, this is the stuff that would put it on the website and people would just buy it time and time again. And so it made me realise that these models, although lots of people make a version of it, if you can do it really well and get into the nuances of what these guitars are about, then you can do well with it.
So let's, I mean, through this video, obviously Pete's going to play some, and I'll have a little strum as well. I'm sure you will as well.
Yeah.
But I'm intrigued really to, I'm reasonably familiar with how electric guitars have evolved in their manufacturing, and people talk about this sort of golden era of the 50s and the 60s. And I think, in fairness, people are reasonably complimentary about things like Fender and Gibson's custom shops now, and how accurately they are recreating guitars from that golden era. And I know that they go to great lengths of buying old guitars and sort of x-raying them and unwinding pickups and trying to understand how they were made. But you've got to go back even further, really, with the acoustic, back into the 30s and the 40s. And so how are you finding, what was that journey like, and how do you discover, you can't take a guitar worth £100,000 and think, well, I'll just cut it in half and see how it was made.
You can. Well, no, the thing, what happens is, you see, so locally to us, and not far from here in Sevenoaks, there's Replay Acoustics.
Right.
It's an American guy who runs that, and he's got this wonderful shop in his garage.
Okay, cool.
In the middle of nowhere, you'll never find it. And his name's Tony Winecki, and Tony has the best collection of Martins and Gibsons in the UK, possibly in Europe. And we did all of his repairs for a long time.
Oh, I see.
So we'd be inside those guitars, then of course the calipers come out, don't they? And you're sort of measuring everything, and you're taking notes on every guitar that you'll be inside, and you can measure the thicknesses of the tops. But then it's so much more than that. There's so many nuances between say Martin and Gibson, little really geeky things but you see them time and time again within
like what you're talking about,
like the way the bevels on the bindings and the way the sides of the fingerboards age
literally the way the binding is rolled, just tiny things
little
like
things that Gibson and Martin do it so differently, and so incorporating that into our models and all the people look at these guitars, and we get it all the time. People just sort of walk past. There might be at a show, and they walk past. They come back and they go, "Is that? Oh, it isn't. I thought it was an original." and so to get that whole feel, you have to go geeky, don't you? And
well, I mean, I bought a D35 from 1972. It was a 40th birthday. I hadn't always wanted a D35, but I wanted something from 72. I actually wanted an electric guitar, but I was speaking to a lot of dealers just saying that the 70s was such a crap period for most electric guitar manufacturers. It was pretty much the only guys doing anything decent during that period were Martin. So if you're going to buy anything
the
from the
35
70s,
particularly was really good.
That's good to know, because I didn't know that. So anyway, so I've got this guitar, and the first thing I do when I get it I had to import it from America, was compare it to a brand new D35, and it's like chalk and cheese, utterly chalk and cheese. So I don't know whether you put that down to whether or not they were manufactured very differently then, or just 40-year-old timbers.
I think there's a combination there.
But and what I'm interested again, that experience I had when I walked into your workshop and I did I was like, that sounds way closer to my 6-year-old D35 than it does to a modern D35. And so what is the I mean, without giving away any trade secrets, what's the process?
There's no trade secrets really in any of this. And I used to I remember having Bill Collins in my workshop and said, "Tell me everything," and that people do talk, so it's good. But for example, we bake all of our tops, and I think that plays a major part in the whole sound thing. If you think about a pre-war or a guitar from the 40s or 50s, or a touring guitar in America, on the east coast of America, it goes through every condition that it goes down to sort of the humidity is 10% at certain times, and then these guitars would get chucked in the back of a station wagon, and they'd be there overnight while the lads are in the hotel, and then you know, in the summertime they'd be chucked in the station wagon and they'd bake in there. And so these guitars go through a whole process that I think we replicate, because when we do our aging finish, we'll also freeze the guitars. So we bake them and freeze them.
Amazing.
And so they've been through some quite stringent temperature sort of changes, and I do believe that must play some part in all of this. But what we'll also do is pay a really close attention to the thickness of all the bracing. So if you know, not to sort of badmouth modern luthery, but guitars nowadays are built to go everywhere in the world, and you know, they build so many guitars, some of these factories, so they don't want to see them again. They don't have a personal relationship with each guitar that they make, whereas we still do. And so we can control that guitar as it comes through its build, and we can really get inside it, under the bonnet, and know what we're trying to achieve with it.
I was speaking to another company the other day who was the guys from Alvarez Guitars, who make some wonderful Far Eastern guitars, but a lot of their influences came from a Japanese luthier called Kazui Yari, I think is fairly well known. And they were saying the big difference between, so when you're making the guitars in Japan, they would treat every single top as unique, and they would adjust the bracing specifically to that one. Whereas when you get into mass production, you fundamentally got to go, well, the bracing on every guitar has to be the same, because it's just put through a much more rapid manufacturing process. So you can't quite really tune each top how you want. But I guess you're saying that, you know, your build process allows you to tune, to just fine tune every guitar to be
exactly.
The best it can
we're
be.
not this. I'm not someone who's sort of tap tuning stuff necessarily, but you can feel a top when it comes out of the oven, and you can joint that top, and you start thinking, all right, there's something going on here. This one's more flexible, and so you can accommodate all of those things really.
I mean, let's get into some of the guitars. Before we do, let's just massively name drop, because I do think, as you rightly say, sort of, you know, the confidence of professional guitar players to use your guitars, you know, should hopefully give these guys the confidence that, you know, to come and check them out. So come on, who's the person you are most proud to have playing an Atkin guitar?
Well, I couldn't possibly say that, but what I can say is that all of the songwriters that use them, for me, who are out there using them regularly. I think Graham Coxon was here recently, wasn't he? So Graham's got 3.
Wow.
And he recorded the End of the Effing World on our guitars.
Excellent.
And we've got, there's people who are always touring in the UK, so Boo Hewardine and Eddie Reeder, Chris Drever. But then also we've got the Elbow have them, Richard Hawley. We've made stuff for the Americans, Dolly Parton.
Awesome.
Lots of.
What was that phone call like?
I never spoke to Dolly, but my friend delivered her the guitar, and she apparently came down the steps on her massive tour bus, came down,
amazing,
picked up the guitar, hey, thanks, and then came back up again. But that was one of the Buddy Holly guitars.
Right.
Paul McCartney's got one of those. Don McLean, Dion got a message from Dion DiMucci on the answer machine. It's a really brilliant moment. We've done
pleased.
lots. I've forgotten lots of people, but Ed Sheeran's got one. We've got and actually he was like, he got his guitar from the Buddy Holly people. And he said, I've got 2 of these. I do a lot of my writing on them. We never knew that, so it's nice to hear these things.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, look, okay, so let's. I mean, I know we've grabbed a couple. I think the significance really that we're holding these to, particularly this one, was you were saying this was one of the first styles of guitars that you ever started making. Yeah,
this was a life-changing moment, really, because I was telling you before that I never really loved the J45 shape, and
it's always been one of my favorites.
I know, for some people it's just the pinnacle. You know, they've seen the Beatles with them. So there was a time when Bruce Springsteen and Steve Earle had just released albums, and they're both using old versions of this, like Banner, Banner J45s, and it was at that moment I just thought, hang on a minute, this thing's great, I've got to check this out. So we started making them.
The J45 is still that. I think not downside. I think the problem is because in the Gibson catalogue, it's always been like the working, simple, plain. You know, it's not the blingy one that your eye's drawn to. But even now, I would have to say that, you know, every so often a J45 brand new will come in from Gibson, and you're just going, and you'll be just like, oh, this is such a great sounding guitar. I mean, you've obviously got to go well up the range to get the kind of quality that you're doing, but there's just, I still think there's just an element of, it is that, you know, it's not a look at me guitar in the way that like a Hummingbird is, or something like even like a D45 or something with all the intricate, you know, it's a bit of a look at me guitar, isn't it? But it's just
a working man's guitar.
It's the right name for it, isn't it? And what was the significance of this one? Just before
this one is a replica of the Tony Rice Clarence White model, which is why we call it the White Rice.
Right.
And that guitar was found by Clarence White back in the 50s or 60s, and he appeared at a luthier's workshop with a bag of guitar, you know, and I said, "Can you put this back together for me, please?" And this guy, the sound hole's much bigger on this guitar,
you can,
largely because the sound hole was destroyed on the original, so he worked back to the next sort of ring of the rosette, and that became this guitar, which is widely regarded as one of the best D28s in the world. But it had a neck from an OM Martin and a fingerboard from a Gretsch that the guy had lying around. So we've been working with Michelle White, amazing. Clarence White's daughter, on this model. So
we'll have a strum on these. But so let's go over to the Essential range.
Yes.
So before we start talking about it, why not let's have a listen to Pete playing a couple of the Essential models, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about them in a minute. The Essential range.
Yes.
What a great name. Because they are kind of, and we've got three.
Yeah.
Is this
That's the OM.
Are there just 3 in the range, or is it just the 3 we've got?
No, you can have pretty much any of the. You can have an O, a double O, triple O, D, and every variation within those.
Fine.
And yeah.
So that would just be a question of if it's not something Andertons have got, it's just a question of asking us, and we'll find out for you. But,
absolutely.
So what are the main ingredients that go into an essential guitar then?
Right. Okay. So the top. Most of the time, although we can do an Adirondack top if you like, but this is a baked Sitka top. All of the bracing is baked European redwood. All of the braces are scalloped on every model that we make. The back and sides are mahogany, and the binding is tortoise shell. It's very much pre-war appointment.
Faux tortoise shell.
Yeah, faux tortoise shell. Not the this is
just
celluloid.
Just
celluloid.
triple checking.
Yeah.
Before anybody from Greenpeace burns us down.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is good.
Yes. Yes. And all of our guitars also have. We make all of our pick guards in house.
Oh, cool.
From celluloid tortoise shell, and so we can replicate the exact shapes that we used on some of these original guitars, but we also hand bevel all the edges. So if you look at the top of those, you can just on the top shell, you can see that they sort of have a really nice soft edge to them.
But that is when you see old guitars, they are like that, aren't they? It's like, because I know what you. Yeah, modern guitars you just have to squared off.
Yeah. Well, this sort of thing, it just takes a little bit longer, but it really sets off the whole feel of the instrument.
Certainly does.
So yeah,
and what is it? Ebony fingerboard,
ebony bridge.
Yeah.
The nice thing about these guitars, we use Santos rosewood on the head veneers, so they're completely CITES free.
Right.
So you can send this guitar anywhere in the world,
right?
And it's good to go.
Yeah, but that's not. You've not elected to not use rosewood for CITES reasons, if you like. I mean, this is correctly.
This is
how it
the
would
exact
have been.
appointment of the original. Not exact, but for example, it would have had an Adirondack on some of them, which we can offer.
You've not exchanged rosewood for something else.
No, not at all.
But like you say, it's just. I mean, and this is the Essential D, right? So this is what I came in and did. The. Oh man. I mean, if you live, anywhere, and you can get to Guildford, and you like acoustic guitars, you have to come and do the G chord challenge. That just walk into the acoustic guitar department, go into our acoustic room, pick up one of these guitars, and if that's not the best G chord you've ever heard, I will eat my hat. It's just amazing. I'm keen to know as well your aging process.
Yeah.
Not your personal one, obviously, your guitars ones. You've aged terribly well.
I'm 89.
We elected to have all our guitars from you with your sort of, I don't want to say relicking, because relicking
infers, we do call it aged now.
Yeah. It's a little bit like, I suppose it's a bit like sort of Gibson's VOS kind of.
It's that sort of
lived-in feel rather than
it's not scratched up or anything.
No. That's an option, right?
It is. Basically, it's the same price for a mirror finish, which is like your brand new finish, or the aged finish.
Yeah.
But what we've found this year, our figures tell us that we've done sort of 90% on aged.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why exclusively the whole guitar team just went, oh man, isn't that the dream to have an absolutely immaculate, 1940s, and so that's kind of what the vibe is with this. But if that's not your bag, and I get it, it's entirely a personal choice. We can just get super shiny. No problem at all. What is the lacquer on here? Is it a nitro lacquer?
It is. Every finish we use at the moment is nitro.
Yeah.
I could imagine us getting to a varnish finish one day, but going the other way into the polyesters and polyurethane is not our world at all.
No.
The nitro finish is one of the best aged finishes.
Yeah.
It will grow old really gracefully. It will if you scratch it, it's going to look fine as well. You know, you'll get that ding and you'll go, oh no. But then actually, a few months down the line, the whole thing starts to look all right, you know, and they're sort of battle scars rather than horrible dents. So
what would I mean? You mentioned using redwood, European redwood as bracing. What would have traditionally been on?
Well, it would have had American redwood.
It would.
So
cool.
a lot of the time would have had Adirondack bracing as well.
And have you moved far from the types of X bracing that would have been on these guitars originally?
Very similar in as much as the tolerances and the thicknesses. So again, this is part of what we did with Tony Winnecki when we had a chance to look inside those guitars. It was finding out the heights and angles and all of those things. The radiuses on our tops are 30-foot radiuses, and the backs are 15-foot. So if you look across,
I mean, there's just a
it's a bowl.
Oh yeah,
it's a bowl.
Yeah. Even on the top.
And the top as well. Yeah. So
Crikey.
some this works really well for us. So yeah, we
30-foot radius. I must admit, when you started talking about that, I was because in my head I only ever hear the radius of talked of,
right.
as a fretboard. So I'm
same
thinking
thing.
like like here's a 9-inch radius or whatever like that. And you go 30 foot. I'm just thinking, God, that's a big old circle. That one, isn't it? It's like sort of
but that's what it is.
Amazing.
Oh
well, these are stunning, absolutely stunning. I hope you enjoyed listening to Pete play them. I'm pretty convinced Pete will have enjoyed himself playing them. But pricing wise, where do you jump in with the essential range then?
2599. On each one of these, they're the same. Slotted headstock is a little bit more.
Okay. Including a hard case.
Including a lovely hard case. Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy. That's not that different to what just a straight modern D18 would cost you. You know, it's like,
if you put this next to the original, which I have done, the 1930s original, they'll stand up pretty well, which is why a lot of touring musicians pick them, because they've got a double action truss rod. If something happens to them, that we can take the necks off very easily.
Because of course all the I see.
They're bolt-on necks, so they're bolted through the mortise and tenon,
right?
And then the fretboards are glued down. So these necks come off in like 10 minutes and can be reset in a couple of hours.
Wow.
So there's a lot of
and the double
plus
action
points.
Truss rod then is that's not user adjustable. That's just set and will naturally find its.
So you basically what it means is that whatever happens to you won't reach the truss rod because it's just under. It comes out of the neck block.
Right.
But it's a 4mm Allen key. You can.
So what's the process then of adjusting the neck, or are you sort of confident that this is built in such a way that you just wouldn't adjust it?
Very rarely would anyone need to go the other way on the truss rod. So you tighten it and it pulls up the middle, and then if there was ever a problem with that, you could actually put it the other way and it would still work the same way.
And how do you get to it then?
Going to go. So you have to slacken off the strings.
Yeah.
And then this is like most Collings and Santa Cruz of the sort of high-end boutique guitars put their truss rods in this place.
Right.
Because it puts the truss rod in exactly the right place. The centre is in the centre of the neck.
Right.
Rather than some of the modern guitars put the hole in there, and the truss rod stops around here, so you can actually get to where the centre needs to be.
Okay.
Yeah.
But this isn't necessarily something that you do yourself at home.
No,
then?
I mean the thing about truss rods, it's one of those areas, isn't it, where some people really understand it, and other people sort of I've heard of this truss rod. What is it? And then they start mucking around with it.
Well, for sure. I mean, I'm quite used to on certainly Far Eastern guitars and probably all my electric guitars just periodically just going. But I do appreciate that prior to the 70s, I think it was, most truss rods were not designed to be sort of user
Martin
adjustable.
Didn't start using a truss rod until the 70s or
I'm
around
trying to think.
about then.
I think mine has got a truss rod in it, and it's one of the very first that actually had a kind of a user adjustable kind of truss.
Absolutely. Which is it. Having the truss rod is really important. But I mean, we can do an adjustment on a truss rod in a minute. Just slacken off the strings, 4mm Allen key, and you can locate it by feel.
Right. So it is there. It's just that I can't.
It's behind the first strut.
I see.
Yeah,
Fine,
You won't feel it with your finger, but it's about.
So you haven't
there.
got to take the neck off to do the truss.
No,
Sorry, that's what I was trying to
sort
of get at.
No,
Okay,
you can
great.
get straight to it. Yeah.
Right. Well, that's the essential range. I must admit, I'd be highly surprised if I don't own one of these in the next year or so. That is absolutely stunning. But now we shall cut to the next sort of range, which is going to be
the 37 series.
Right.
Yeah, which is a rosewood version of these.
Cool. So we've just heard Pete having a little noodle, I think, on all four of these. these are, you said, the 37 series.
Yep.
Harking back to a particular year, 1937, a particularly sort of vintage year for this type of
Considered
guitar.
to be one of the best years for certainly for a herringbone dreadnought.
But really, in sort of not layman's terms, but if you're familiar with the Martin guitars, the kind of appointments that are on here would be more in keeping with the 28 series
Exactly.
rather than the Essentials, which
Yes.
are like the 18 series.
Yeah.
So rosewood, back and sides.
So Indian rosewood. Yeah.
That is what's on my. That's what's on my Martin.
Is
Indian
it?
rosewood?
Yeah, yeah.
It was 4 or 5 years after Brazilian rosewood was. But I've got the 3-piece back on the 35.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's beautiful. Proper Indian rosewood.
Yeah.
Mahogany necks.
Mahogany necks. It's got the classic diamond volute on the back of the headstock here.
Yeah,
which,
absolutely.
Which that model has exclusively.
Oh, so that's only on the Dreadnought, is it?
No,
Oh, no,
sorry,
on all
the
the 37s.
Yeah,
right,
or
okay.
above an 18.
Right.
And it's got ivory binding as well.
It's just fabulous. And they're all 2-piece backs.
2-piece backs, yeah. Everything's book matched against baked Sitka spruce tops and the European redwood bracing. Yeah.
I just think they're wonderful, wonderful guitars. They've got a. It's just it's a bit heavier on the bass end, isn't it? A little bit more scooped in the mid range than the Essential series.
So I mean, for something like this, would have been a bluegrass kind of a biggie, you know, for backing.
So loud.
And, yeah.
But I'm making a conscious decision to sort of strum lightly while you're talking, and then even then I'm thinking, even strumming lightly, it's too, you know, it's making it harder to hear what you're saying.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. I mean, they can be tickled, or you can really pelt them, and they've got. I mean, there's people often talk about these like having a piano-like tone when you sort of you play that one string, and that's something that a lot of people look for in a great guitar.
Because you're getting all of the sort of the harmonic overtones of all the other strings as well, aren't you?
Yeah.
And I've always liked rosewood for a guitar to play unaccompanied.
Yeah.
I've always felt that a rosewood back and side acoustic is very pleasing to the ears. I think mahogany perhaps works well in a band or in a mixed situation because it's got a little bit more mid-range there.
Well, it's got so much going on. It's a powerhouse, basically. You know, when it sort of.
It's just great.
Yeah. I mean, the blues guys use these. Lead Belly had one of these, you know, and you see them around. Very, very.
I'm excited.
Popular guitars.
What shall I buy? I don't normally get excited about acoustic guitars, I must admit, but I was saying, I think because I've got the Dreadnought already, I think I fancy a different. These are great. They feel so compact. They're just great.
Desert Island guitar. A lot of people say the OM is just one of those models that does so much. It strums and finger picks really nicely.
I think Pete's got a triple O, hasn't he? That's his sort of go-to guitar.
Yeah. So these have a 43mm nut on the OMs.
Yeah, these are wider feeling than the Dreadnought.
No, that's the same.
Is it?
Yeah, that's the same width. But this one's the wider one. This is the 45mm. And we can offer any of these combinations on anything.
Okay,
So-
well, we'll put. I'm going to have all of the Atkin guitars that we buy individually photographed and weighed and specification put on our website. But as Alistair just said, if for whatever reason you're going, that's my perfect guitar, but I just need it slightly narrower, talk to us. We'll make it happen. Is there anything else before we move on to the next series that you want to sort of say that you're particularly proud of on the 37 series?
Well, again, we do a lot with the aging process, so the tinting of the lacquer.
Yeah.
So each guitar is tinted and masked up. So if you see around here, around the sound hole, we've sort of picked the actual parts of these original guitars that age, and some take the colour with time and some don't. So that, for example, the Ivoroid doesn't change in colour on a Martin.
Right.
So they used Ivoroid in here as well. So there's all these little nuances that you see on the originals, and I think that we've done well to get a lot of that going on, really.
What do you make the bridge pins out of?
Those are cattle bone bridge pins.
Okay.
Yeah. We don't make those ourselves, but
yeah,
you'll often see that on the high-end Martins as well.
It's just fabulous, absolutely fabulous. Cool.
Yeah.
Right. Well, let's move on to where are we going next?
We're going to go for sort of our more Gibson-y sort of style guitars.
Great. Well, we love a bit of that. Cool. Let's do that then. Hopefully you just enjoyed hearing Pete demo these. We've now moved from Nazareth to Montana.
Yeah.
Or where would it have been? Would it have been Nashville?
I think it was Montana, wasn't it? Or no, it was Michigan.
Michigan, of course it was.
Yeah,
of course it was.
Yeah.
And if you don't know what we're talking about where Gibson guitars used to be made back in the day.
Yeah.
Yes. And I have just decided that this is now what I want instead. Because I want to be Robert Johnson, sitting, selling my soul to the devil, playing this guitar. Oh, it's just amazing.
A lot of poke out of a small little thing, isn't it?
These have a tendency, well, I say these, this style of guitar has a tendency to have a sort of a boxiness to it that I kind of think you sort of forgive it and go, oh, well, it's got that authentic.
It's got some character, but
this hasn't got.
I would say these guitars for us, we've changed the style a little bit.
Yeah, they're
inside.
not boxy sounding.
No, because again, those every so often you get an absolute blinder of the original, but a lot of them haven't survived as well as the Martins.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
So to give the player something really special, we've got a touch of our own stuff going on inside these, which you wouldn't get in the original.
Well, let's talk about that then. So this is the LG. You've nailed the burst, obviously the burst that on the original Gibsons that didn't sort of stay around the perimeter. It kind of came across the sound hole. What have we got though in terms of timbers and spec on these?
We've got mahogany back and sides, which again has been tinted. It's got that really nice sort of dark feel going on, and we grain fill all of our instruments, but with this finish it's so thin it's all sunken into the grain. It's also got this checking, you can see that across the back there. We use a cream ivory, a cream celluloid binding on these, which is the same as the Gibson is, and we give it that little bit of yellowing just to give it that feel, but we'll scrape through it in places just so you can see the original sort of what it would have looked like, which is what these guitars look like now. On these we've used Santos rosewood again throughout, just so that we can make the sighties thing not so much of an issue, because a lot of these guitars are going over to the States, and we just want to make it easy for the dealers and also the end user to travel with. The head veneers are actually walnut, and they've been dyed black, which is a little bit like the original Gibson, although I think they used hickory on.
And it's just a Sitka spruce top.
Sitka spruce top, yeah.
Redwood bracing again.
Yeah, redwood bracing, but these are scallops inside, and a lot of the Gibsons wouldn't have been scalloped.
Okay.
So it gets a bit more movement going on.
Yeah, I wonder if that's why it's got, I don't know, that more acoustic-y sound as opposed to the sort of the boxy.
Power, perhaps, and movement going on.
Let's just... Oh, man. I could literally apply for a job with Atkin guitars just to be a G-chord tester. It'd be the most fulfilling job in the world. I just pass me guitars all day and I just go, more G, there it is. It's the best chord ever invented for acoustic guitar. Okay, so the LG obviously is a small guitar. You've got the little button tuners, which again is sort of very appropriate.
Yeah, close-on plate tuners there.
Yeah.
Again, it's got the truss rod is double action truss rod, bolt-on neck with the fretboard glued down. What else can I say about these? So the 47, a lot of the time we'll pick years that appeal to us. So I remember trying a 1947 LG that blew my socks off.
So this is this is obviously a little confusing, isn't it? Because of course a lot of the Gibson and Martin have both used numerical model numbers, but not to do with years.
No.
I think I read somewhere that a lot of the Gibson stuff was to do with pricing. Apparently the 335 was apparently retailed at $335, or I don't know.
Yeah.
That's what I've read. But obviously you've elected to go with the year that something perhaps is a particularly good vintage for that model.
Yes.
So don't, if it's a lower number or a higher number, it's not meant to indicate that it's better or worse.
Absolutely. Just think of great eras of wine.
Yeah. So this is the LG 47.
Yeah.
Obviously you've got, we've all just sort of lusted over this guitar, whilst you've been here.
Yeah.
J45, just, the unsung hero, I think, of the whole acoustic guitar world.
Isn't it? It strums well, finger picks well. But really, from the moment we finish these, the power is there.
Yeah.
So you don't get any of this, well, in 10 years' time, that's going to sound great. It's like today, you're going to pick up a guitar that sounds top-notch. Yeah,
it's difficult, isn't it, that whole, how long are you supposed to wait until your acoustic guitar sounds really good,
Yeah.
I don't know. I've always been, I think, on both the electric guitar and the acoustic guitar, I think that, there is something about a guitar that's been played in and loved and worn in, and it's got something, and I don't know that if I bought a new guitar now, I'm gonna be dead before it's any good. So that's probably a bit harsh to say that, but I don't have a problem at all with going, well, I can't afford to buy, or not even I can't afford it. I'm not gonna unless I decide to go on a road trip, around the world and visit like 100 different vintage guitar stores. I'm not going to be able to find the Dream J45 or the Dream LG, whatever. So I'm very open-minded to this idea of just going, well, I'll try some guitars that are.
We've done it for you.
Yeah,
and we get this regularly. People pick them up and they say, I've tried so many guitars. What have you done to this guitar to make it sound like this? Yeah. The big part of that, again, is the finish, because it's got half the amount of finish on it than a brand new guitar. Yeah. And most of the guitars that we hear in shops today have got the high gloss finish on them. Yeah. And if you speak to most sort of geeky luthiers, I remember Bill Collins saying he always thought that a lacquer, a mirror finish, lacquer finish was perhaps the best finish you could get. And as he got into varnish finishing, he realised actually then there's something superb about that. Wow. And really, what we're trying to achieve is almost getting down to the bare wood, really.
Well, so again, hopefully some of the people watching this will be in the same boat as me. I'm not even sure I'm familiar with this idea of a polyurethane style, much thicker, much harder wearing, much faster to apply finish, which of course is what you'll get on the vast majority of guitars you'll buy nowadays. Yeah. I'm also familiar with the nitrocellulose finish and how it's applied and how much longer it takes to apply, but also how much thinner it goes on and how it ages so much more nicely, and people do talk about how it enables the wood to resonate more. But I'm not familiar with this idea of a varnish style finish. So
right? Varnish finishes are painted on, but much like a French polished classical guitar,
painted as opposed to sprayed,
exactly, hand applied or rubbed on. And so you've got these really thin finishes, like like you'd French polish a table. Same techniques are used. I
always think of varnish as just like yacht varnish, just like great big water resistant stuff. But you're talking about really very thin. And so what? If you go back into the 30s and the 40s on Martins and Gibsons, would they have been using a varnish?
Well, originally, they would have been using traditional furniture making finishes, wow. and so then nitrocellulose came in. And people adopted that, and I mean it's only been in the last sort of 20 years that people have moved away from that. From nitrocellulose, and maybe longer.
I see, but over to polyurethane. You mean?
Yeah, and if you look at the auto industry, they were all using cellulose as well, which is why you'll get those classic models of cars where you walk up and they've got all the checking in them as well. Yeah. But there's something about that I think a lot of us love.
So does varnish checker in the same way that nitrocellulose does?
I don't think it does in the same way. I've not spent a lot of time with it, to be honest. And I've got like a pre-war. I've got a 1917 F3 Gibson mandolin in the workshop, and it's just got this sort of ultra slick, thin finish that just you pick it up and it's the aura about it is just insanely good. So this is what we're trying to achieve.
So maybe one day. The Essential V. Oh, yeah. I see, I've named it for you. Yeah.
But I mean, there's some really. There's some great.
I'm the debate on how the various elements of guitar manufacturing affects tone. I don't think there's much debate on acoustic guitars that kind of everything affects the resonance. There's lots of debate on electric guitars as just to how much impact it have, with some people saying it can't possibly make any difference at all. But I think I'm a believer that there's sort of like, when you're searching for that magic bit of fairy dust that's on an instrument and all of a sudden you go, that's the one. I'm convinced that it's absolutely everything about the guitar,
Well, it's also a lot of the usual suspects turn up when you get your list of guitars that you love. They say, oh, hang on, that's got that as well. That's got that as well.
Anyway, well, look, so these two guitars are going to be, in fact, pretty much all the guitars in this video are going to be in Andertons. perhaps now is a good point to throw in one of the complexities of dealing with Atkin guitars, which is that you're very busy and you don't build many guitars, do you?
We don't now.
So roughly how many guitars a week do you build?
We're doing 6 a week at the moment.
6 a week?
Yeah.
Tiny.
Yeah.
So what we've done is we've got 8 or 9 guitars that we've waited for 6 months for to arrive today. Super exciting and cool. And then I've kind of booked production slots with Alistair for the next 6 months, but we don't really know what we're going to order. But hopefully the idea is, as you guys buy them, we'll be able to plop them into these production slots and we'll be able to try and keep restocking.
Yeah.
But if they become, you know, if they sell out faster than that rate of sort of 3 or 4 a month or whatever, we are going to, you know, you are going to find that the lead times on those guitars.
Well,
get
we're
longer
also
and longer.
expanding at the moment.
Oh, cool.
So we're trying to take up because this is happening all over, and so we're in a period of
good for
making
you.
it happen.
But I'm like, you know, I hope as you expand, obviously you stay as hands-on and you know, make sure everything, the attention to detail and everything stays there. But these really are, for their price, I think these are the best acoustic guitars I've ever played. You know, I mean, I just think they're amazing. I forgot to even ask you during the 37 series guitars. What would you pay for those? Roughly?
So they're 2,799.
Oh, so not much more, like
not
another
much
£200 or £300 over and above. No. Okay, and then on the 47, what are we?
So this range. This is 2,899.
Yeah.
2,799.
So they're all roughly 25
under the
to 3.
Under the 3. Yeah. We also offer. We've got some Koa sets that we're making guitars with. So there's a lot of room to explore other areas. If people see this and think, I want something with Adirondack and Koa, or you know, Cocobolo and Koa. So let's
just quickly jump onto these because I mean this in particular is interesting because of course this is a commission for somebody. So I suppose we can talk about that. But before, just that's a normal one, isn't it? So it's just isn't that?
This is number 1 of the L. 36
number
models.
1,
first one. Brought it here today.
We'll take that too.
Right, great.
We'll take that too. I've just looked in the sound hole. If you want this guitar, I mean, this is assuming it's even here by the time the video goes live. It even says the first.
Yeah.
In on the look at that.
That was Kieran in the workshop. We should definitely put a number 1 on this. I mean that is guitar number 954. So all the guitars.
So all your serial numbers are completely sequential, regardless of shape.
Yeah.
Because funnily enough, I was looking in one and it said 947 or something. Yeah. And I was thinking, okay, that's the 947 of that one. But that's just sort of.
We're coming up to number 1,000.
Number 1,000.
Next year. Yeah. Which we're building a special for that at some point.
So that's based on a 00.
Yeah. This is L00. So
L00. Sorry.
Nick Lucas sort of size. Again, this one's got a 43mm nut. And we can do this in a wider nut. Sometimes that did have a wider nut. This
I prefer the narrower nut, I think, because I'm more of a strummer than a finger picker.
We're going to do some black ones of these as well with the white.
Where's my?
Right. Yeah.
So that, you know, you mentioned Michigan being the home. So my dad learned to play on this guitar. So I've got a picture, funny enough, of my granddad holding this guitar in the original Andertons from like 1960 something. And it's a catalogue guitar.
Yeah.
So it would have been like a Sears type or K type catalogue guitar, complete rip off of a Gibson, and they've called the range Michigan.
Yeah.
But I totally even forgot that was hanging there when we talked about Michigan. But I'm glad that's there now because it's all that sort of.
Well, it all ties in.
I mean it's a cheap laminate.
Yeah, but they were all that.
It's a cool guitar.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's anyway. Going on to the commission. So let's say somebody went, I fancy, you know, Alistair making me something that's a bit unique to me. This you just said was done for a lady called
Amy Wadge.
Amy Wadge, who writes with Ed Sheeran.
Yeah.
And so she's had a little motif of a tattoo that she's got put on the guitar, which I think looks absolutely fabulous.
So that's Nashville, actually.
Brilliant.
And on the headstock on that it says "No risk, no reward," which is also part of her tattoo.
Fantastic.
But we built this guitar for a one of our dealers in the Netherlands, he had a hunch that this is a small J45 basically.
Wow.
So it's an OM size 45. So he had a hunch that this is going to be a really popular guitar as well.
Has Amy tried this yet?
No. She's coming down to Canterbury in a couple of weeks' time.
Well, you are very lucky. I would just say, if you are watching this, this is an absolutely stunning guitar. Hopefully will inspire a few more big hits for Ed Sheeran for you. Pay for itself 10 times over. That's fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. So in terms of commissions, if somebody went, what will you do? Fret inlays or fretboard inlays?
We can pretty much do anything. We've got certain things that we do, like the inlay thing isn't a problem at all. Some of the woods now are harder to get hold of, but yeah, just talk to us and we'll see what we can do. We're always up for a bit of a challenge. We've done lots of names up the fingerboards for people like Richard Hawley's got two with his name on, and various people over the years. So yeah, it's all good fun.
I think you've got to be good, haven't you?
You've got to feel pretty confident.
You can't walk out there with your name written down here and then be a bit useless, can you?
No, you've got to be able to pull it off.
You've got to be a confident player. I love these. In fact, this is the worst thing about this video, is that basically I've fallen in love about 5 times.
And this time I know it's for real.
Have we got anything else, or are we towards the end?
That's all of the guitars we've brought today.
Brilliant.
You've got, as we say, more guitars in the on the list
at
the workshop for your first sort of order, because it's coming up in a week or two. We put down the best sellers. So there's a J45 and another OM or two. So
I think that's where we'll. Obviously, I think, Alistair and all the guys at Andertons, we all share a kind of a great affection for these wonderful old Martins and Gibsons, and I think this is such a great way to kind of get some access to what that vibe of guitar is like without having to A, find one, and then B, sell a kidney to buy one.
Yeah, that's
but you did mention, are there any sort of actual Atkin kind of originated models and stuff?
We've got a slightly curvy sort of AA model, which we make sometimes. It's been quite popular at times, but we've gone down this sort of, you start on this road and you think, oh, hang on a minute, this is a huge thing to sort out. So and we've also got a small jumbo and a jumbo model that we make as well.
Fantastic.
So
it's a beautiful website. There's lots of stunning photography on the Atkin website as well. So go check that out as well. But yes, please. Take a trip down to Andertons. I would say try and do it sort of Monday to Friday rather than Saturdays and Sundays, because what you really, really want is to sit in a nice quiet room for an hour or two without too much hustle, and just literally sit and lose yourself in these. Come down anytime, but Monday to Friday when it's quiet, we'll put you in a nice little room. You can have as many of these as you want, drink cups of coffee or cups of tea, whatever is your thing, and just get into it. But these are wonderful and so fabulous that they're made in England.
I know. It's down the road, really. It's
literally an hour and a half's drive from Guildford.
Perfect.
Absolutely brilliant. I love these guitars. Can you tell? So thank you so much for coming down.
Hey, lovely to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
And good luck with everything. And maybe if you're watching this video in some far-flung part of the world, get your local guitar shop to phone Alistair up and let's see if we can make these a real thing everywhere.
Yeah,
it'd be awesome.
Fantastic.
Anyway, cool. See you later, guys. Hope you enjoyed all the playing, and please comment below any other questions you've got. I'm sure the guys at Atkin Guitars will read them too.
Very
and answer
happy
away.
to. Yeah,
brilliant.
Cheers.
All right, see you later. Bye.
Bye.
Forget which is the one that says.
Yeah. It's the Pepsi challenge.
Okay. Yeah.
Let's make sure.
Sounds great.
Swap.
When you did the finger pickery thing, it's but I suppose. But try this one again. Oh man!
Been here for 3 hours. Now.
Yeah. That's tough. If you play this one soft, it's got a real
Which one have we got? All right. Yeah.
beautiful, but I think as an over... I wish I could play acoustic guitar.
I do think that one's kind of jumping at you, isn't it?
I want to sort of bash this one a bit as well,
Yeah.
and I don't...
It's in there to go as well, isn't it? It's like,
Oh, it's amazing! Do you do special staff discount?
you can come and work for us.
Yeah. I'm 99% sold on this one, but I'm just going to literally... In fact, I should probably try the J45 as well, as I said,
yeah.
how much I like that one, but I'm pretty sure. That's amazing too, but the lure of having the first in the sound hole, I think, is probably pushing me, what's the right word, sort of irresponsibly towards that one. So I think I'm staying with this one for the time being. That's such a massive sounding guitar. But I've got a massive sounding guitar already. So I'll just play this for a minute. If I didn't have the D35, this would be a serious. No. Well, there we are. That was easy.
That's
so
easy,
the first guitar that you can put on the Andertons reorder list for
It's another little LG.
November or December build, whenever it's going to be, is another LG, because this little puppy is coming home with me.